Hello, everybody. We're back on our week-long slugfest here to talk about drama actor this time. You can watch our comedy actor and actress, and we're also recording really all the lead categories over the next few days, and then we'll come back and do supporting. I got Rob Licuria here sitting in Sydney, and Chris Beachum sitting here in Beverly Hills. I still can't, after 3 years, believe that I'm saying that. We've been doing these for many, many, many years, and this category, Rob, drama actor, it's tough. You've got returning winner Sterling K. Brown. Yeah. You've got his co-star Milo Ventimiglia. You've got Matthew Rhys from The Americans, Westworld's Jeffrey Wright and Ed Harris, and Jason Bateman coming in on the drama side for the first time for Ozark. What do you do here? Where do you go?
So here's the thing, right? And as you know, you can always just, if you're having trouble, you just think who won last year, put them in, and you're probably safe. So that's why Sterling K. Brown is probably the default. I'll put him in as a favorite for now because I think he might win again. However, the problem with that is This Is Us, I think, underperformed a little this season at the Emmys. And apart from Jeffrey Wright's win back in 2004, I think, for Angels in America, no one else has ever won an Emmy of these nominees. And they've all been nominated a few times each, and you could make a good argument for a lot of them. And I also think there's a bit of vote splitting here as well, which I sometimes am a bit skeptical about, but we've got multiple nominees here. We've got Jeffrey Wright, Ed Harris from Westworld, and we've got Milo Ventimiglia and Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us, who could pull votes from each other. So I've got a massive migraine about this one. I've got Sterling K. Brown in #1 just to keep it safe for the time being, but I'm really curious to know what you think, Chris, because this one's giving me a headache.
Boy, as I said on the comedy actor one, if you're just not sure, go with who won last year. And I certainly think Sterling could win it. I think there's an argument to be made that for This Is Us, Milo had a more impactful season. I think voters do watch This Is Us. I think there are some shows in various categories that they don't really watch. This is not a category where I think that's the case on any of these shows. I think they do watch all of these shows. That's why I think vote splitting tends to happen if there's not an obvious choice between the ones. Last year, Sterling was an obvious choice over Milo for that first season. Sterling also the year before, remember, for OJ, there were several supporting people up against him from OJ, but he was the obvious choice. So I don't think it hurts in those situations. I think it hurts more when the voter doesn't know what to do and half go one way and half go the other if they're fans of that show. So that could also hurt Jeffrey Wright and Ed Harris, because I don't know. Ed Harris is certainly more of the villain. I think he's going to have the hardest shot to win out of these 6. Jason Bateman, I mean, actors are going to love the fact, every actor would love to be a director, I think, almost all. And the fact that he's accomplished that and he's nominated for directing, and the episode he submitted when they watch that, if they watch that, it's going to say directed by Jason Bateman because he did the finale. Those things could make a play for a voter. They might go, wow, that's impressive. But the person I've got in first right now, and it could change by the time people watch this, is Matthew Rhys. The Americans is just picking up steam left and right. It just won a lot of TCA awards this weekend. He had a tricky job from the very beginning to me. We talked about this on a couple of interviews with him. He's Welsh, playing a Russian who's trying to pass as an American. He himself is Welsh. He's playing a Russian who had to learn how not to be Russian and get an American accent. And then he plays various Americans, you know, over the course of the run. So I think he could do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I was hoping you would say that because I'm very tempted to put him in my first spot as well. I agree. The Americans is picking up steam. It had a really fantastic final season. It's there is a bit of sentimentality in this particular choice because the show is now finished. He is an accomplished actor. He's been nominated 4 times. That's impressive alone. And I just have this sneaking suspicion that we'll see a Friday Night Lights effect for the Americans, where it's a show that has never really been a massive player at the Emmys, but has always kind of received those key nominations, hasn't really ever won much apart, obviously, from Margot Martindale winning the 3 Emmys that she's won. But I think, yeah, he is a possibility. We could see a Kyle Chandler type win here for him, and nothing would make me happier than to see.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I hadn't thought about the combination, but I'm virtually certain that the finale is going to win writing for the Americans. And we saw that combo with Friday Night Lights winning writing and Kyle Chandler. So maybe you're right.
Yeah, I think that also, I just keep going back to the Friday Night Lights effect, because back in the day, Connie Britton was also very popular, and I would have thought if anyone was going to win from that show, it would have been her. And the same thing can be said for the Americans. If anyone's going to win from that show, it seems like Kerry Russell. She just won a TCA. She's a big name as well from TV. She's been on TV for many, many years. And yet I have this feeling that drama actor does not appear to be so much of a done thing like drama actress might be. And therefore, you got a possibility with the vote splitting and all the other things that we've said that Matthew Rhys could sneak in and actually take this for the show.
Well, I'll say 2 things about what you just said. They aren't up against each other like they were this past weekend at TCA, where it's gender neutral. It's not who's the best performance on the Americans. It's who's the best male performance. She's got a much tougher category.
Yeah.
That's way more loaded down, and I call it the Kim Basinger effect. I always refer to this any year. Kim Basinger was basically the 5th or 6th or 7th best performance in LA Confidential, but she was the only woman in LA Confidential. So all the other guys, none of them got nominated because they all were outstanding, and they beat each other out. Nobody could get enough votes to even get the nomination. So she's sitting there on the female side, and you would never call her the best thing about that movie, but she had nobody else to compete from her own movie. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Nothing to take away from Matthew Rhys. His character was just a little bit more in the background this season, much more reserved, kind of out of the spy business. And but boy, he gets a whopper of a scene in the finale, and that's what he submitted. And when you think about that garage scene, you think about him. So anyway, we didn't hardly even talk about the others, and we've only got a couple of minutes left on this one. But and then after all this analysis, watch them just go with Sterling again because they like repeats.
Yeah, that's right. Although I agree with you what you said before. Milo Ventimiglia in the This Is Us had a fantastic season. That would make me also very happy to see him win. When I think about This Is Us, I think about his heartfelt performance as the father figure in that show. And I also think that if you had told me a day before the Emmy nominations announcement that Jason Bateman would be a double nominee, I would have probably said, no, that's not going to happen. Ozark hasn't really been the biggest show on TV, and yet he's here as a double nominee, directing and acting. We can't really ignore that either, as you said earlier. So this category is not completely and utterly a done thing. There's a lot of ways that they could go. I'm going to go probably with Matthew Rhys after we've talked about it, and just to see what happens.
All right. Well, everybody jump in and make your predictions in our prediction center. Not only Emmys, but we got the Creative Arts Emmys, early Grammy nominations, MTV awards. There's lots of stuff in there to predict. So make sure you make your predictions now. So many people in Hollywood and New York and around the world are in the industry, and they're looking at your predictions and looking at the odds to see where things are.